UFC walkout photo. On October 18th, 2025, a UFC Fight Night match viral across the
Dude, those are some crazy That's actually kind of a cool idea, though. No?
internet, but not because of the fight itself. Instead,
it's kind of goofy. It's kind of goofy. Too big, and right there, bad spot.
The moment that caught everyone's attention happened during Brendan's walkout. A small handful of people noticed that as he was making his way to the octagon, a fan flashed his phone to the camera for a split second, showing what looked like a very disturbing image. What a lot of people thought was the picture of a lifeless body lying on the ground. What made this already creepy
Bro, that's what?
Incident even more disturbing was when the camera moved a bit further and showed the person who was holding the phone. He was wearing a luchador-inspired wrestling mask, likely to hide his identity, all while looking directly at the camera with an unsettling, almost psychotic smile on his face. Which begs
like a luchador mask to a UFC fight. Like, I think he's just kind of being a troll.
Question, what was this picture, and why did he show it on live TV to an audience of millions? Reverse image searching the picture on the phone doesn't bring up any similar results, and no one has been able to link it to some movie or TV show either. In other words, the person holding the phone likely took the picture themselves. And judging from what it looks like, the most disturbing explanation that comes to mind is that the man in the luchador mask had killed the person in the photo. The person appeared to have heavy bruises, including black eyes and possibly a bloody mouth. Even if they were alive, they appeared to be in serious danger, possibly after being kidnapped by the perpetrator.
What? Bro, we are going out on a limb.
And while this might sound absurd at first, it's definitely a real possibility to consider. There have been countless killers throughout history who craved attention and deliberately left behind clues to become famous. Maybe this particular killer thought showing off their crime on TV was the best way to receive that attention. And with the virality and discussion online, he certainly achieved that goal. On a similar note, this could also be a ransom kidnapping situation where the stunt was meant to publicly prove the victim was still alive to their family, especially since sending the photo directly would risk law enforcement tracing it back to the kidnappers. That said, there are a few notable innocent theories suggesting the opposite that have likely kept law enforcement from conducting any real.
But you can also see a big grin on his face as if he was dared to do it. He doesn't look very old, and it looks like a couple of buddies trolling to get some attention. Hope I'm right. Looks like a victim on the phone. Hopefully not. Why do people do that shit, dude? You don't know. Like,
some have suggested that this was nothing more than a prank. As a user on Reddit speculated, "To me, it looks like some college-aged guy laying on a bathroom floor with makeup on. Could be a dude who got so drunk his mates decided to mess with him by drawing on his face or putting makeup on him, then took a picture. One of them decided to shame him even further by flashing it at..."
I'm sorry, but that is so much more rational than it being a dead person and he's like trying to, I don't know, start a Zodiac killer type. So dumb.
The UFC when he knew the cameras would be broadcasting. It's also possible that it could be a deliberate attempt to create a creepy hoax, especially since it happened fairly close to Halloween. Cropping out just the phone and brightening up the image also makes
there ain't even no blood on there, bro. That's just a dude laying down.
It look a bit more like a regular photo. Some argue that now it looks like a man simply sunbathing on an outdoor lounge chair with a pool in the background. But why would someone be motivated to show something like
It's called using your brain though, dude.
This if it really was an innocent picture? At the end of the day, all of these theories are just guesses, and any number of things could really be going on here, innocent or disturbing. Because the masked man's identity was never revealed, we will likely never know for sure.
I think we know, bro.
Buried alive in Brazil.
Please let this one be better, cause what the hell was that? I love chilling scares, and what the hell was that, bro?
In January 2018, a 37-year-old Brazilian woman named Rosângela Almeida was going about her day when she suddenly collapsed out of nowhere. She was rushed to the hospital where doctors found that she had experienced 2 cardiac arrests. She was in critical condition and eventually passed away on January
like back to back or at the same time?
28 after barely clinging to life for a few days in the ICU. Her family held a memorial service for her that evening, and she was buried in the Sonora Santana Cemetery near her hometown. Her remains were placed in a wooden casket which was encased in a solid
bro, that looks kind of sad though. That looks kind of sad.
Concrete tomb. Losing her at such a young age was devastating for her family, and especially her mother. What none of them knew, however, was that their grief was about to take a dark, tragic turn. You see, a day after her burial, reportedly, people living next to the cemetery started hearing noises from graves. These included the sound of someone banging their hands against
Bro, I feel like you're not supposed to keep bodies in there like that, though. I think, is that just a US thing? At a certain point, we're gonna run out of room.
It's a hard surface, as well as a faint scream in some instances. However, the neighbors initially brushed off the noises as a prank by children, something that apparently happened often enough for them to ignore the noises entirely. But several days passed and the sounds did not stop. It wasn't until 11 days later that someone realized that the sounds were coming directly from Rosangela's grave. The neighbors immediately alerted her family upon making this discovery, fearing that she might have been falsely declared deceased and was still alive when buried. What made the situation even more concerning was the fact that Rosangela had been suffering from fainting spells ever since she was little.
Kind of reaching again, because if we're just forgetting that the kids do this so often that they just didn't even care to look into it? Or is that just lazy police work?
Maybe she was just passed out when the hospital staff incorrectly declared her dead. Family, friends, and neighbors rushed to the cemetery and opened her coffin, hoping to save her, with some people recording the whole event. Sadly, Rosangela was showing no signs of life. However, the people who touched her body exclaimed that she was still a bit warm to the touch, implying
nah, bro, that's the trauma. Trying to rationalize what they grave robbed this lady.
That she was at least alive up until very recently. Later reports also claimed that the nails in the coffin were looser than they were when she was buried, and that there were injuries on her wrists and blood marks on the inside of the coffin that weren't present before. Even
okay, well, if there's blood,
the pieces of cotton placed in her nose and ears were knocked out. Most importantly, witnesses reported that she didn't seem nearly decomposed enough for someone who had died 11 days earlier. After the casket was exhumed, Rosangela was taken back to a nearby hospital where she was pronounced dead for a second time and buried once again. The question everyone had on their mind, however, was whether she was buried alive the first time. Her family, and particularly her mother, believed that was the case.
Bro, you'll never know now, though. You'll never know. That'd be the most horrible testimony. Well, if there's blood in the casket, dude, how the hell else is it there? And what are we even talking about? It would be confirmed.
Testimony from other people also seemed to back this conclusion, with one neighbor stating, "There were more than 500 people who came here and packed the cemetery. Everybody went to see. Lots of people touched her foot, and everybody saw that she was still warm. She wasn't cold."
I don't know about that claim though, like because of that. Like, I don't know, if there was a crowd of people and we mobbed together, dug up a grave, and then we were all trying to make sure she was alive, I'd be thinking shit too. Like, I don't know how cold or warm a body should be. 11 days, bro. I don't know. So me just guessing and saying 500 random people that showed up and touched her body, and then like now we're gonna take their no. I'm sorry, bro. We need something else. This isn't enough.
Now, there are countless real stories of people tragically getting buried alive by accident, with many eventually passing away in the coffins before they could be rescued. And while the vast majority of these stories are from before we had modern medical tech, errors still do happen to this day. Just a few years ago, a Chinese woman was declared dead and sent to the funeral home before being discovered to be still alive. So the idea of the same thing happening to Rosangela was a real possibility.
Yeah, but they didn't find blood in that lady's casket, bro. And if there wasn't any found, didn't happen. Or you got police corruption. I don't know, one or the other, but she was probably alive. If there was blood, she was alive. Because what the hell else? Like, what are we even talking about? How is it a rabbit hole?
Especially when we consider the fainting spells she experienced her whole life. However, despite all the reports and supposed evidence, both the doctors and investigators stayed adamant that she had passed away before her burial. In a statement to the media, the doctor explained that she was already in a serious, irreversible condition when she arrived at the hospital. From there, she was put under an intense level of monitoring to observe all her vitals closely. So there was no way he could have falsely assumed her to be dead.
Yeah, but what happened? What did she have? What was she being fixed of? Like, what? There was no info. That was so vague.
Under those conditions. As for the slower decomposition, that was explained by the result of her being on strong antibiotics while she was in the hospital. But these explanations failed to convince Rosangela's mother, who was devastated by the thought of her daughter enduring days of suffering buried in her casket.
Well, yeah.
The case also became major news across Brazil, with many even accusing the police of not doing a proper investigation to protect the hospital and the doctors. So, what really happened? Was Rosangela actually buried alive? From everything I was able to find, it's not likely. For instance, many people reported her body being warm to the touch after opening the casket, suggesting she was alive up until recently. However, even if we assume that she was buried alive, there's no way she would have had enough air in the tomb to stay alive for 11 days straight. Giving it the benefit of the doubt, let's assume there was a whole—
no food, no water, no sanity in there for 11 days, bro. I don't even think that's what they were claiming, though. They just said it wasn't as decomposed as an 11-day body should be, they thought. And that the antibiotics supposedly was the reason that wasn't the case. So I don't know if, I honestly think he kind of misunderstood that one, but.
Somewhere in the tomb big enough to let fresh air in. Even then, it's near impossible for her to stay alive without water for long, all while screaming and banging on the coffin. Speaking of which, the investigators also claimed that they didn't find anyone who personally heard the noises, implying that it was nothing more than a rumor. That said, the details surrounding—
Yeah, bro, there's hella rumors around this thing. Like, what are we doing? There's no blood? Then I'm not in it. Like, it's not a rabbit hole, didn't happen. And she just died and it's tragic and the mom can't handle it.
The case, like the reports of wrist injuries and blood marks, are still a bit murky to reach a solid conclusion. Whether or not Rosangela was—
Okay, so there is blood marks now. Now we're sure there's blood marks. This is kind of dumb. I'm getting frustrated with
actually
this
buried alive is still, and will likely remain, unknown.
Just my thought, if there's blood, and he just said that they can't seem to explain the blood marks, I think it happened then. That's where I'm going to leave it at. I'm done with this one. Let's go to the next one, please.
The Wikipedia edit. WWE wrestler Chris Benoit was scheduled for a live house show—
I think I've already heard about this one, though. Let me see what he has to say.
On Saturday, June 23, 2007 in Texas. But hours before the event, the 40-year-old wrestler called management and claimed that he wouldn't be able to make it because both his wife and son were ill with food poisoning. But he didn't show up the next day and wasn't picking up his phone either. After over 24 hours of trying to contact him, the WWE management dialed 911 and requested a wellness check for Chris on Monday, June 25, assuming that maybe he was sick as well and needed help. However, nothing could have prepared the officers that were dispatched to his home for the tragedy they were about to witness. They arrived at his house in Georgia at around 2:30 p.m. and rang the bell. When no one answered, they looked for a way inside and discovered the garage door was wide open. The whole house was eerily silent. They discovered the remains of Chris, his wife, and his son scattered throughout the house. And as it turned out, the person responsible for this tragedy was Chris himself. He ended the—
Yeah, his special move was basically a headbutt from really, really high up. Really dangerous shit.
Lives of both his wife and son before turning on himself before police did the welfare check. The edit read, Chris Benoit was replaced by Johnny Nitro for the ECW Championship match at Vengeance, as Benoit was not there due to personal issues stemming from the death of his wife, Nancy. The thing about
Well, yeah, bro, what are they going to say? Oh, he's not going to show it because he murdered his whole family. What the hell? That's just like a normal PR... Bro, I'm getting pissed off with this video.
Is that it's a social collaboration platform where anyone can add new info or make edits. One possible explanation was that Chris, for some reason, made this edit himself. However, the autopsy report revealed that—
Bro, I'm sorry. Next one. I'm sorry. That's going to be a no for me.
Investigators found the man who made the edit, a 19-year-old university student named Matthew Greenberg.
Yeah, bro, and Wikipedia is like a publicly edited site, so it literally doesn't even matter. It's not like it was changed on the like WWE site or anything. Like, of course, anyone has access to it. I guess, like, how would he have the information? But he just said because he saw it, heard rumors about it. I don't know. Bro.
2023 were meant to be a celebration for 18-year-old Cameron Robbins, a recent high school graduate from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was on a celebratory cruise in the Bahamas with several hundred fellow graduates. The festivities, however, took a devastating turn on the evening of May 24th, leading to a mystery that the internet is still debating to this day. At around 9:30 p.m., Cameron was aboard the small cruise ship named the Blackbeard's Revenge near the uninhabited Athol Island, northwest of Nassau. The ship was stocked with alcohol.
Yeah, that sounds like a Margaritaville on the water. Like, there's nothing but drunk old people on there.
And since the legal drinking age in the Bahamas is 18, Cameron and his friends were drinking non-stop. But as they were enjoying their time on the cruise, someone reportedly dared Cameron to take a leap off the ship into the dark water. Cameron, likely due to heavy intoxication, agreed to the dare instantly and jumped overboard, resulting in one of his friends recording this video using Snapchat.
Oh, bro, the worst things happen on Snapchat.
This kid jumped off! Oh my god. Oh, bye-bye!
Oh, dude, and he's drunk? That's so terrible. He's done.
Grab the buoy! Hey, the buoy!
I mean,
this was, unfortunately, the last time anyone saw Cameron alive. The crew stopped as quickly as it could, and the crew alerted the Coast Guard about Cameron's disappearance. However, despite an extensive 2-day-long search of a 325 square mile area, Cameron was nowhere to be found. He more than likely passed away not long after jumping overboard.
Yeah.
But even his remains were never discovered, which, considering the extensive search, was very odd. And
Is it though? I mean, his body probably sunk, no? I mean, what is the mystery here?
reason for it, according to some, is that he was attacked by a shark shortly after his jump. This theory began when someone noticed what looked like a large. Moments later, Cameron could also be seen swimming in the opposite direction while ignoring the life preserver right in front of him, almost as if he saw the shark and was trying to get away from it. On the one hand, the shark population in the Bahamas is quite healthy.
Bro, he's dead either way though. What are we debating here?
These cruise ships often throw food waste overboard as well, likely causing the local marine life to associate them with food. So it's possible that a shark was following the ship and immediately swam over to Cameron to investigate as soon as it heard him hit the water. Additionally, many sharks also hunt at night, making shark attacks on humans.
Bro, it doesn't matter though. I get sometimes being like, oh, well, what happened? Bro, it's just sad, dude. Why even sit there talking about it like that? That's just sad.
Particularly at night.
I don't know what's going on with this video, but I hope Chilling Scares is okay, cause what the fuck, dude.
A woman in the small town of Mattoon, Illinois named Aline Carney woke up smelling a sickening sweet odor in her bedroom at around 11 p.m. She dismissed the odor at first, thinking it was just the scent of flowers drifting in from outside her open window, but the sweetness soon became suffocatingly intense. She tried to get out of bed to investigate, but collapsed to the floor as soon as she stood up. That's when she realized she had no feeling in her arms or legs. The odor was also starting to cause a burning sensation on her lips and throat, making it difficult to even breathe. Seconds later, she also heard her daughter crying on the bed, asking why she couldn't move her arms or legs.
Oh my god, that's terrifying, bro. You just smell like cinnamon rolls, getting overwhelming, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then you're paralyzed, and your kid's screaming that they're Bro.
Hearing this, Aline used all the strength she had to call for help, eventually getting the attention of her sister, who was sleeping in a different room. Her sister noticed the smell as well and determined that it was coming from the open bedroom window. She ran out to call the neighbors for help. Around the same time, Aline's husband, who was a taxi driver, pulled into the driveway. But before he could get out of his car, he was horrified to see a thin, tall figure standing outside the bedroom window. It was dressed in all black with what looked like a gas mask on its face and was holding a strange tubular device in its hand. The husband tried to chase after it, but the figure disappeared into a nearby alleyway. Given what they knew, the family concluded that the sweet-smelling gas had been released into the bedroom by the mysterious figure, later dubbed the Mad Gasser of Mattoon by the local media. Aline and her daughter were able to recover without any permanent damage to their bodies. However, the attack on their home became the template for numerous similar incidents over the next 2 weeks. Victims, mostly women and often home alone or with family, would report being hit with an odorless gas or sometimes a sickly sweet smell. This was followed by a range of symptoms like nausea, vomiting, temporary paralysis, dizziness, disorientation, and a burning sensation in the throat or eyes. In some cases, the symptoms lasted for hours, requiring medical attention. Yet, despite the severity of these chemical attacks, any attempts to investigate the gasser came up empty. There was no visible damage to homes, no...
Bro, this looks like old-timey, so he could just do whatever the hell he wants. There's no way they're gonna find him.
Mysterious assailant seemed to vanish into thin air. Witnesses and victims reported seeing shadows or figures lurking outside their windows, specifically near the ventilation openings of their homes. But the police never found any...
Oh, come on. Oh my god. I can't finish it, bro. I'm sorry, dude. Bro. Lost some points with that one. I'm not gonna lie. Lost some points with that. I'm very disappointed. I didn't love that one. Has he posted again? Was that the most recent one a week ago? Bro, this one? No. 5 most disturbing hunting encounters.